politics and precious metals, currency and current events, and from Bitcoin to banksters, this is the Wise Wolf Gold and Crypto Show. Now, here are your hosts, Tony Arterburn and Kenzie.
Currency and current events, politics and precious metals, Bitcoin, banksters, random gunshot.
Yeah.
Kenzie missing her cue. The intro is longer than I remember, but it's really cool. All right, folks. Welcome to the Wise Wolf Gold and Crypto Show. I'm Tony Arterburn. I am one of your hosts. I'm joined by Kenzie, who is the destroyer of normalcy bias, the top trader for Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Exchange, current holder of the keys to the kingdom. It is the 16th of February, 2023. Kenzie, welcome to your show.
Thank you. You make me sound like I'm so much more than I am. I really appreciate that, but it's not hard to be like top trader or like employee of the month. There's just two of us.
Well,
I mean, are you gonna hand? Is the CEO gonna?
How
hand
would you
yourself?
see? I just built you up, and you came in and knocked all your stuff down, and that's not. See, that's an old network marketing trick. Which you say you don't like network marketing. I've learned a lot from network marketing, and one of the things you learn is you give validation to the person you're with. I mean, you always want to say, "I'm with so and so, and they are the smartest, the best," kind of in a Trumpian type way, but actually being genuine. I mean the things I say. So that I guess that's what makes me different. But what are you up to? What have you been thinking about in the realms of metals and the markets?
And kind of an unknown point. It's one of those things right now, it hurts because, my buying has been more consistent, but then you like keep seeing the peg fall. But what I don't want to do is be like that folks that are like waiting on that certain number. I do that with Bitcoin all the time, but with like precious metals, it just has to stay consistent. But it's like,
do you have a number on Bitcoin? I don't mean to derail that line of logic or your stream of consciousness, but do you have a number? I have a number.
You have a number of like how far down we'll go or how far
up?
up?
Where I definitely want to buy, where I'm a buyer, like a real buyer.
Well, right now I do feel as though we're in kind of the false bull run, kind of a bull trap. But from there, we've seen it over and over again with Bitcoin. Once we hit a certain level, then unknown price potential. And more so just because people FOMO, right? Not for realistic reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the thing about like we've watched, Kenzie and I have watched this in the precious metals business since she's joined Wise Wolf, and that is when prices start to spike, there's like a little bit of a lull and then buying. Like if people, right when it starts hitting territory where it hasn't been in a while and it starts going up and up and up, that's when you really get a lot of activity, which is antithetical to actual like how you would build wealth. And we love the business, but we want people to buy when it's in the red and it's more available and the prices are down, kind of like now where you had like a push to 1950 on gold. And then it's back down to in the 1840 range, 1,840 today. We'll go over spot prices, but yeah, silver's down. It's under $22 an ounce, so it's a bit of a push down. I think it's a good time to look into that. But I was just curious on your. I know we're watching the markets, and I was talking to David Knight this morning, and I usually do Thursdays on the David Knight Show, and I was thinking about how happy days are here again. That must be playing in the heads of these financial network talking heads and stuff. Just looking at all the numbers like, oh, it's fine. We don't need gold. It's everything. The dollar's doing good. Inflation's down because over year, it's 6% from the, down from where it was. And I go, yeah, but you guys, I mean, when you talk about the money supply is contracting, I'm like, well, that's not hard to do. When you've made 80% of all the dollars ever made in 36 or 48 months, I'm pretty sure you can contract that supply pretty easy by just not doing that. I mean, that's one of the things. So I don't know. I think you're right. We live in like this. It's not really a bull market. It shouldn't be. Right?
No, it shouldn't be. And you have to wonder how many of the big boys, I mean, real financial players, could be easing people maybe back into this market. They have incentive to do so. And it's so much easier for them to do it in, I think, crypto than it is even in our commodities markets. Because, there's a lot of funny business that goes on over there. We talk about that all the time. But to make crypto move is relatively easy. Few phone calls and we're up again.
Is that how it works?
I think so. I feel like it. Like there's either like a JP Morgan whale or a Goldman and Sachs or somebody out there. Maybe it's like the anonymous Bitcoin guy that just has like JP Morgan on speed dial. And he's like, all right, let's pump it. Let's pamp it. Let's go.
Well, do you think they have like it's to me, it's like that ETF they built for Jim Cramer, which they do the opposite of everything Jim Cramer does. Have you seen the antithesis ETF? I don't know what they call it, but it's whatever Jim Cramer picks from CNBC, they pick the exact opposite or they short it, right? And I love that because I had that idea like 2 years ago, and I thought somebody to pick the opposite of this guy, just do the opposite. Well, in that, I know we were talking about. We have an article. We're going to talk a little bit about foreign policy, geopolitics, and the war. But while you were saying that, I thought, well, let's pull up this article from Zero Hedge and talking about who makes the price go up. Bitcoin hits an 8-month high above 25,000 as institutional flows accelerate, and Charlie Munger melts down. On the same day as 99-year-old Charlie Munger reiterated his hatred for crypto, mumbling that he's not proud of his country for allowing this, quote, crap. The price of Bitcoin and other major coins are soaring. He says, well, call it crypto shit. It's worthless. It's no good. It's crazy. It does nothing but harm. It's antisocial to allow it, Munger said during a live stream interview for the Daily Journal. And then it shows the last 36 hours have seen Bitcoin surge from below 22,000 to above 25,000. So thank you, Charlie. Thank you for your help. What do you think, Kens?
I think it's great that every time that, some of these older people do try to trash on it, that it moves. Like at this point, maybe I should just trade that. Because typically, I like momentum. I like just random hype out of nowhere. Like what you just saw happen with like the Floki coin and Elon Musk naming his dog the CEO of Twitter. That was oh, shame on me for like just working like a normal person. I could have just made the Floki trade. I like seeing that we got the Bart Simpson going on here though. Like you got to wonder, is that going to want to keep going or come back down?
Just so crypto in a lot of spaces is ridiculous. It's a, kind of a carnival barking clown show, because you look at the coins like Dogecoin or whatever, and then you even have like coins like Elon. There's an actual Elon coin. This like that has a little dog on it. The article goes on to say it's not just Bitcoin, of course. Ethereum is ripping higher too, almost at 1750, the highest price since September of 2022. Cointelegraph reports that on-chain data indicates the current price momentum can be tracked back to a mysterious fund that started pouring money into crypto on February 10th. Okay.
A mysterious fund?
A mysterious fund. According to data from LocoChain, nearly 1.6 billion in institutional funds have flowed into crypto market over the past 6 days. Most of the 1.6 billion flowed from stable coins, especially Circle issued USD coin. The owner of the funds first withdrew their USDC from Circle and then sent it to various exchanges. Ooh. See, I was like
JP Morgan like did get on the phone or somebody like.
Well, it's, there's things aren't always what they seem, like the surface level finance, and of course there's the art of war behind that, and like taking out your enemies and setting up traps. And you look at things like the FTX deal and you wonder like how many people were just like, okay, great, let that exchange burn and we'll let it go to almost next to nothing and then pick up the pieces, and then we'll roll the hype machine back out. Because you remember the hype machine went on for months and then it stopped. Like crypto was the next greatest thing. There's Super Bowl ads. Every celebrity has something. Everybody's got a coin. And then it just, again, to near zero. But am I onto something here? Are we watching like the return of the institutional crypto pushers, backers? What am I seeing?
Well,
just in time. I think you cut out a little bit there.
They can do some nefarious stuff. Did I lose you there?
Just for a second, continue your thoughts there.
All right. Yeah, I think we got some nefarious things going on in the background here. Because there's always the chance, they still have enough funding to get something to pump to maybe get them back to even with some of these institutional folks we're buying in at. They could be hurting a bit, but the difference is they can just call up another bank or a buddy and have some money flown over to them to inject it here. So I don't know. I don't like how our biggest moves are coming from institutions. That doesn't really make crypto fun anymore.
I know. It's the whole point of crypto was to decentralize. The whole point of having, the blockchain technology away from the central banksters was to put power in the hands of the everyday person to make decisions on what type of token or what type of currency you'd like to use electronically. And I love it. I mean, I think all roads to me still lead back to Bitcoin. I'm not necessarily a Bitcoin maximalist, but at this point, I'm not buying any other cryptos. I'm buying and you know this because you see my bank account. So Kenzie knows knows everything about me. And I'm buying a little bit of Bitcoin every day. And that's mainly because I pay bills in Bitcoin and some of my vendors and people that I do business with. So I just try to keep it kind of dollar cost averaging. I buy a little every day. But I'm only buying Bitcoin. I do hold other cryptos just for full disclosure, but we're real careful on this show not to push anything because you see a lot of that out there. I mean, we don't have any crypto sponsors, and I don't plan on having any other sponsors but ourselves. But any closing thoughts on this article and what you're seeing? Is there going to continue? We're going to see a bull run all the way to, some people are predicting, 30,000 Bitcoin before any kind of correction. We could see that. It's possible. It's only another 5K.
That's easy. If it wanted to go there, or they wanted to do that, that's an easy play. I'm just not touching it at the moment. So
understood. Kenzie's always cautious, has been pretty consistent with that. I never see her run with the madness of crowds. So there's some wisdom in that. All right, let me.
You make me sound like I'm outstanding. I totally gambled on the Super Bowl, by the way. Like I'm a degenerate gambler. Terrible.
And you did well. Is that how you got your Lambo?
I actually did do well. I came in 25th place out of like 150,000 people. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that
Super Bowl is always the time that I do the best. Like I play throughout the year, but there's so many new people that get in and don't know what they're doing. And, there's a strategy to it as far as on DraftKings. I don't play Vegas style stuff, just DraftKings.
So let me ask you, what would I be classified as if I don't even know who's playing in the game, and I wouldn't be able to hold my attention span? I mean, I do like sports. I competed in powerlifting for many, many years. I may compete again. I still like competition. What's wrong with me? How come I don't have like a team, or I don't watch sports and I can't even tell you who's playing or who? I mean, I feel like I stopped watching. I watched the Cowboys play in the 90s because I'm from Dallas. And then I went to the Army, and I don't remember anything after that for sports. What happened? Is there a word for me? Am I a prude? What is it? Am I too focused? Am I too serious or something? Like, am I just?
I think you're too serious.
I've heard a lot of people say that about me. Like, what's bothering you, right? Why are you stressed out? I'm like, I'm just alive. I'm trying to make sure I pay my bills. And it's just a constant battle. I'm self-employed and there's no help coming. I have to do it all I don't know, maybe that's just me. But there's got to be a word for me. I remember my dad called it something interesting. He's watching my old man. He's an entrepreneur extraordinaire. I watched him when I was a kid. And one of the things he told me, he was like, when you're in your 30s and you've got bills coming and you've got payroll and all this stuff, he called it the 60-minute gut crunch. He's like, every Sunday when 60 Minutes would come on, they start doing the little clock. He'd start getting that pain right here because he knew Monday's coming. He's got to show up and start writing checks and doing stuff. So I kind of carried that over into Wise Wolf. That was a little segue into you get to learn a little bit more about your host. So no, I pay attention to gold and silver and geopolitics and the apocalypse more than I pay attention to football. Kenzie would wipe the floor with me on pop culture. I do really good on Jeopardy if anything was about literature, philosophy, or history. But random stuff on pop, I'm done. You're just gonna
I know. I just got like the most random bits of knowledge. It's like, why do you know this? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, let's
All right,
see.
let's change gears a little bit, and then Kenzie brought some interesting articles I definitely want to get to, and we're doing a little bit shorter show today. I promised people I'll get one on the feed, and we will do longer shows. I promise. I've got some interviews coming up. Just bear with me. We're getting some things handled here at the shop. ZeroHedge.com. And I found 2 articles on Zero Hedge, and then we'll move on to other outlets. But this was interesting. The title of the article is from the USA Watchdog. It's, "I'm afraid for the worst. Charles Niener warns the war is going to pick up and gold is going to 30K." And that caught my attention. And Kenzie and I agreed it's okay to talk about price predictions as long as somebody else does it. Like, we would never do that. We would never tell you that gold's going to 30K, but you can read the article and look into Charles and see what you think. Renowned geopolitical and financial expert Charles Niener said back in late November, interest rates were on the way down, but for the very short term. Niener also predicted the inflation might come down around 6.5%. The latest CPI number clocked in last week at 6.4%. Niener was right on both counts. Now Niener says inflation bottomed, and his cycle says prices for everything will go up from here. So is the Fed going to do the so-called pivot and start lowering rates? Niener says we are going up. Not right away, but we are going up. So he's talking about the Fed continuing this hawkish move up. He says you don't hear that talk anymore that the Fed is going to lower rates because it's so ridiculous. If you're an insider, the Fed funds rate is the futures just made a new high. So now everybody is expecting a much higher Fed rate than a few months ago. We are not out of trouble yet, and the bounce in stocks is almost over. Niener sees short-term rates going up in 2024 and a Fed funds rate of 6.5%. That's a little bit different than where we are right now, wouldn't you say? Niener also thinks the stock market can go down 40% later in 2023. And on the war front, Niener said the war in Ukraine could get worse, and he was right again. He says if the West does not understand what is going on and starts bringing in airplanes, I'm really afraid for the worst. Nobody has any idea of what other countries think. They think you can push everybody around, and you can't. So something is going to come and make everyone very afraid. In other words, people start freaking out by the middle of 2023 and the markets tank. So it's based on the war cycle. The war is going to pick up and it's not going to end well. Anyway, I just want to stop there. This is, I think anybody who's really paying attention to the conflict and war in Ukraine and the actions of NATO and the United States government is going to clearly see that we do not want this to end. We have no interest in this going away. We have no interest in a peace summit. This is the first time in history that we've made major moves on the geopolitical front without an exit, without any, I mean, yeah, you could look at the Iraq war, but that's nothing compared to this. You're talking about messing with a nuclear-armed Russia with 10,000 ICBMs. It's such a suicidal, crazy thing, psychotic move to do when we have no inroads for peace. I mean, even JFK had inroads to peace. Nixon had inroads to peace. Reagan wanted summits. He went and met with Gorbachev at Reykjavik. They had, again, they had talks. There was communiques. There's nothing going on here in the realm of peace. So I think he's right. Niener sees an enormous upside for gold. He says, I say enormous because I have inside information from the big economic summit in Davos. I heard things that can make your stomach turn. They are really concerned with taking out cash. They will have digital currency. Gold can hit 2,500 per ounce. And we said that years ago, if it goes to that, gold can go to $30,000 per ounce. This is his words. That could be because maybe things get so bad they have to go back to the gold standard. Niener sees higher prices for food and energy and lower prices for residential and commercial real estate. So this link is up on Zero Hedge. And I remember hearing predictions when I had my shop in San Antonio, and people were talking to me about other analysts predicting like giving specific numbers like gold's going to be at, like 50K an ounce, third quarter 2025. I mean, people were telling me this stuff, and I thought that sounds insane. Now you look at what he just said, and you're seeing that we could get into a situation where you lose the world's reserve currency status because of the BRICS nations, because of, we're only 5% of the world's population and they're 40%. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And you've got Xi Jinping meeting with the Saudis, talking about the petro yuan. And of course, all those basket of currencies they talk about with the BRICS nations. You get into a live war, you get into resetting the global chessboard of who trades with who. The U.S. has 40 sanctions on 36 different countries because we've weaponized the dollar. That can turn ugly really quick. So when I read something like that, that doesn't shock me. And again, the issue with what does it mean to have gold above $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 an ounce? If the dollar continues to lose its purchasing power, which it is, then that means it's naturally going to have more of a dollar to gold ratio. It's going to continue to widen just from the natural loss of purchasing power. So anyway, I'll turn it over to the great and powerful Kenzie. What did I get right in that analysis, or if anything, or am I a kook?
No, I think that we're going down the right path. It's just, I'll say the same thing I always say is, if we hit a certain number too fast, I wouldn't be excited about 30K gold, right? Because if we got there too fast, life is really bad. Because everything has now been broken, right? And we're finally going to let gold do what it's supposed to do and silver do what it's supposed to do. Hell, all commodities. That could be very bad for us. I don't know if 30K gold is Kenzie needs a tank yet, but we could be close, right?
It's like something you and I've always talked about off air and on air. It's like there's a lot of these silver analysts. And again, this show is, obviously you guys know we sell gold and silver, so you can contact us if you want to buy direct or join Wolfpack, and we'll plug here later. But we're not giving you investment advice or telling you where to put your dollars for growing your wealth or whatever. But Kenzie and I always say, if silver hits some of these numbers that these analysts are talking about, like $2,000 and $3,000 an hour, whatever. I'm talking about silver.
Yeah.
Kenzie's like, if silver's at $5,000 an ounce, you probably won't be able to go outside.
Yeah, you can't go outside, not without a pew with you. No,
you got to wear the hazmat suit. It's going to be really bad in the post-apocalyptic. Whatever happened to the markets to make silver worth 5,000? I mean, cheap oil, cheap gold and silver are really the hallmarks of a fake fiat economy that's doing pretty good, right? Right. We can agree on that. And what would the problem then, I think, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, Kenzie, is I think, regardless of the war and regardless of the shakeup in geopolitics and how that's going, it doesn't matter. Because eventually, and on a long enough timeline, and it maybe it accelerates it a bit, but I think we're seeing a revaluation of everything at this point, of commodities, of currency. The central bank digital currencies are coming, but to what end? I mean, they're trying it in Nigeria. I talked about that with David Knight today, and I love how that's just such a flop. That the Nigerians rejected the central bank digital currencies,
but
and they're
see,
going for Bitcoin and going
all these other countries, like whether they hate each other in different groups or not, like they rally behind some stuff to be against certain government ideas or projects or things that they try to implement. The US just sits on the couch, nags about it. You might send a tweet out, but at the end of the day, if this comes home to us, what are we going to do about it? Like, people have just lost. They've lost it. I'm not going to say more, but they've lost the fight, right? To be able to go and do something else. So
I think it just kind of tracks back to, okay, I'll give you an example. The people in Nigeria know more about money and what actual money is than we do in the West, right? Just on average. If you look at, like, if you see those man on the streets where they've got the 10-ounce silver bar and a candy bar. Like, which one would you want? You want this 10-ounce bar of silver? Or you want this bar, a candy bar? I'll take the candy bar because people don't understand what that is. It's like a $300 bar of silver. They don't process it as money because that's what actual money is. We've become so far separated from what value is in a fiat society because we have fake news, fake politicians, fake everything, fake wars, a fake economy, because it stems from fake money. It makes a fake reality. And so people have bad information in their head. But if you go to a place like Nigeria, I love these banksters are like, oh, they like Bitcoin, so they'll love the central bank digital currency. And people are like, nah, get out of here. I don't like it. I don't want your fiat garbage. And I think that's so beautiful. But we in the West have a long way to go. I think it just comes from being lazy and not, I mean, our school system's never going to teach, like, here's the keys to your enslavement. Would you like to be free? Like, they're never going to teach you how to get out of it or where it came from, right?
No, not at all. It's the life of convenience, right? Everybody here just loves their convenience. And maybe that's the difference maker compared to some of these other countries is their life is not convenient. They have to work really hard for literally scraps. So everything really means something. And still they have a better idea of what family is and having pride in themselves and being loyal to certain things, whether that be their morals or someone around them.
I agree with you, and it says a lot about excess and about the economic lifestyle that we've got set up. And I don't wish for all the things we talk about because it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially the loss of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. But I think we can all agree that that's not going to last much longer, and you got to start thinking ahead. Like, what are we going to trade in? How do we communicate with each other? Like, what's the future look like? And the future doesn't. I mean, look at the supply lines, Kinsey, between what happened after COVID 1984 and the pandemic, where they have, all this massive globalization, on-time delivery, and now all those things are fractured, and they're changing the origins of play, where we get things, and all that's screwed up. It's not going back to the way that it was. So there's going to be a new order of things, economically, and that's just the beginning. Look at the sanctions that we place on Russia, and they call it Putin's price hike. And the people in Russia didn't feel it, so it's kind of not his. It's like we put that on ourselves because we weaponize the dollar. So all these things are changing, and I just don't see them returning to normal. I think people are going to have to get or returning to what we perceived as normal before 2020. So I think we're way out in front of this, and there's going to be a lot of changes. And let's put it that way. You're going to figure out what money is eventually, and it's not the dollar. All right.
If times are tough enough, it could be a candy bar. Is that like the little glimmer of hope? My guy seriously, like, what do you call it? Vacuum seals chocolates, whether it be for him or for someone else. He's like, this is like gold. And I'm like, maybe. Okay, maybe.
It's like that movie with Christian Bale when in the 80s is called Empire of the Sun. It's about a little boy that's in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, and at the end he gets a Hershey. They always, and I think Ben Stiller is one of the characters in there, and he asks the kid, "Kid, you want a Hershey bar?" And he never has one. And finally, at the end, when the Americans come and he says, "Hey, kid, you want a Hershey bar?" And he says, "Yeah." He always plays a joke, and he throws him one. He actually gets one at the end of the movie. That rolls around in my head. Anyway, let's move on here. So what you want to jump on the ransomware attack?
Yeah. That's how fragile our life is. Let's do that.
All right, let's do this. Is there a clip on here, or you want me to read it?
No, just read a little bit of it, and then I'll speak on it some.
All right. Ransomware attack on ION Group impacts derivatives trading market. The Lockbit ransom gang has claimed responsibility for the cyber attacks on the ION Group, a UK-based software company whose products are used by financial institutions, banks, and corporations for trading investments, management, and markets analysis. On January 31st, 2023, the firm disclosed the incident in a short statement saying that it impacted ION Cleared Derivatives, a division of ION Markets. So
you can stop there if you want.
What happened? What was the effect?
So basically traders were in the dark. And as many people here know, your whole life is kind of based on derivatives at the moment and where those paper markets are trading at because they're just IOUs. So think about everything from gold and silver to corn and plastic. You were trading in the dark because this affected the CFTC. They don't have their own data, they don't use their own stuff. They use this. So also, I kind of wonder, do we have some skewed, we're constantly getting these numbers about inflation or this or that. And I wonder, could they be somewhat skewed because they're not even updated? That's not even an updated thing. And do you trust some of the younger traders that are out here to be doing paper trade? I'm talking pen and paper. Like Tony would have to yell at me across the room that so and so, and we're not talking about the normal like somebody bought 300 ounces of silver here. We're talking about like 3 million or so many tons of corn being traded, and they're going to have to go through after they can turn it back on, which I think happened recently. I think that they paid this group. Never a good idea because everything was locked. They couldn't look at their own data, Tony. So that's scary. That kind of affects the globe, not just us. But realistically, you have to wonder, did they really freeze out this entire group? I mean, it being a ransomware attack, they don't know how long they had been watching this data. Like this could be used against us. This could be used for other countries. If you wanted to talk about real economic warfare, this could be pretty successful, being that all of us are so dependent on these markets.
Right.
And could they turn it back on tomorrow? Did we do a successful job at making sure that they are completely out of these systems? I don't know.
That's an open question.
Yeah.
And how much, like, with the flip of a switch, how much wealth, I'm putting in this quotations, do you lose?
Yes.
I mean,
well, it stopped a lot of hedge funds, a lot of bankers, or heck, even you and me, if we heard this info, maybe I decide I don't want to trade swine or cattle that day because I don't know where it's actually at. We're getting delayed reports. They can't even update it. So that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's interesting. Keep your eyes out on that because I've sensed for a while that there would be a time when things would get so crazy and especially where they keep pushing artificial intelligence, that something just goes awry and they markets shut down. And then so at the end of the day, whether you're talking about your bank account or whether you're talking about your stock portfolio that's tied electronically and all this stuff, where's the wealth go? And that's why on some level I get it, and especially because I'm a Bitcoin guy too, and I like crypto. I mean, don't get me wrong, but how much better would you feel if you had, an envelope full of American Gold Eagles, as opposed to those stocks, or as opposed to the electronic funds in your account? When something like that happened, I mean, just maybe it's a good idea for you to diversify a bit and have some physical, not just an ETF, but some physical on hand, something that you can, fall back on. Or how much better was it feel if you had a big portion of your portfolio tied up in land or timber, something real, or livestock or cattle, which is the same thing. But you get where I'm saying, right? It's tend to be, that's me. I'm more closer to that because I understand it. I mean, there's a lot of people that do. I mean, there's some smart people that do trades and inside stuff. I mean, I don't know. And that's stuff I'm sure that if I worked hard enough, I could figure it out. It's just not my passion. But
the thing is it's fine to do that stuff. Like, I'm a person that likes to play in the market sometimes, but I'm also a person that goes into playing that market with the idea of this could shut off, glitch, or they could turn off trading at any time. Somebody could decide to freeze my assets at just about any time in these markets, just to do some sort of extra check or something. I've never had that happen, but I know that it can. And I go into it with that mindset. So anything that's involved on any kind of digital market, whether it be crypto, stocks, or whatever, this is all digital. Just go into it with the idea of, like, yes, you could make some money here. You can definitely lose some money here. And then at any time, somebody else could turn it off and it's done. So have something real in your possession. Gold and silver is pretty easy. Even a
Yeah,
little
well,
bit of cash. I hate cash, but have some cash on hand for an emergency. A little
I'm
bit.
all about that. Just be diverse. Don't put all you don't be one of these like a Bernie Madoff victim or an FTX victim or one of these people that's like just get completely wiped out by some
I know.
predator.
Oh, they're like, I put my entire life savings in
Why
that.
would you
Why
do that?
did you do that? Nobody told you to do that.
So crazy. You got this other video. The CFTC has a flawed system. We got.
It made me chuckle, so I wanted to
I'm
share
gonna
it.
put it up and play it.
Please.
All right, one second. Let me put it in and get it on the big screen here.
Hey Tony, we have no sound.
You got no sound? I can hear it.
I don't. Maybe they do. I
It's,
know what it says though.
you sure? I've got it playing through. Hold on, we'll try it. Let's see if we can get. Maybe they'll give us a thumbs up on YouTube. If we get a give us a thumbs up in the chat on Rockfin or YouTube if you can hear that. You should be able to. All right, stand by.
I just love how everything is outsourced, right? Everything is outsourced.
You can regulate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be sure and whistle blow on yourself, which is hard to do.
It's one of those things that makes someone like me chuckle because the world is just a dark place and if you don't laugh you'll cry.
Yeah.
But being how fragile these markets can be and that kind of linking to the ransomware attack that happened. Why is it? Because we're talking about billions of dollars here. If you want to outsource, fine, but if something happens to that, why do you not have something that could easily be rolled right into place, like something that just mimics it almost entirely with a few key details that are different and just roll right in with this? And the idea where you're not keeping your own data, which I know is expensive. This kind of turns into a sort of farming thing and you can't outsource these things. But when you're talking about something so massive, you should probably always have control and access to your own data, even if you're outsourcing from somewhere else. It's not that hard to have a backup in place. I have multiple backups in place for things, like why can a giant company not do that? That's crazy.
That's a great question. I know we try to. I mean, especially we know the threats that are out there, and we know that we need backups and all the rest of that. But that's going to be a thing. It's going to be those are, and it's funny. The people like the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and they all will tell you this stuff. Like we're having the cyber polygons deal. They're going to have the whole simulation. They always have a simulation first, before something kicks off, and then who's going to be the winners and losers, right? People that are in the know. All right, well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, from Kinsey, the destroyer of normalcy bias. Kinsey, we got a few minutes. Anything you're working on? Any thing you want to talk about? Any good deals going on at the back office here at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, or what's going on with Wolfpack? What's happening?
So with Wolfpack, that's doing its thing. Somebody did ask today, just because they were kind of confused about sometimes having free shipping versus other times not. I guess I could touch on that really quick.
Sure.
There are David Knight specials or David Knight deals or other podcast deals. And they asked me, is there not like an email list or something that I can get on? And I don't want to promise that to anyone because we kind of already exclusively do that for Wolfpack members. So if you are a consistent buyer and you wanted kind of that exclusive access, it's not happening all the time, but you could just sign up for our lowest tier. And in that case, there's the dog. Bye, guy.
Kenzie's Kenzie's hound dog. She has a beautiful red tick coon hound. It is it is a gorgeous dog with a set of pipes. So whenever Papa gets home, they're always excited. Well, I'll help Kenzie close out on that. Yeah, we have davidknight.gold, and that's some of the we sponsor David Knight, the great David Knight, and we sponsor many other podcasts, and on most of that is we'll say free shipping over $300, which is generally true. And then somebody asked about Wolfpack, and the Wolfpack program is a little different because we run credit cards on that, and so it just becomes a little bit more complicated. So we tell people, hey, you're going to save money just by doing Wolfpack, and we'll absorb those credit card fees and shipping. So there's a little bit of confusion in there, but you can always reach out to us, and we're happy to go over an invoice and explain all that. And of course, Wolfpack is the once a month program where you can join as little as $50 and goes all the way up to $1,000 a month. And we pick your metals for you, and then we show you, break down the invoice, show you what you bought and where you would have paid at another location or at one of the big retailers. And usually you'll save something, but the more people that join, the better everyone does. So that's wolfpack.gold, and that proudly sponsors the podcast. I saw in the chat, for some reason, nobody had sound on the YouTube video, which is weird because everything's on my soundboard. So I'm confused about that. Let me check my audio. No, we should be good. Well, I'll play us out. I know Kenzie's been busy. We'll be here next Thursday for sure. I'm going to try to drop a couple of smaller podcasts and some informational stuff throughout the week on this channel. And I got to go back through and edit this a little bit so we don't get Athena's beautiful hound dog ball through the.
I'm so sorry.
I saw one of the commenters on YouTube, Walks with Crows, says, "Damn, I almost tossed my headphones." Sorry about that. It's live. Sorry. It's live, ladies and gentlemen. You want us live, though. This is we're walking the tightrope for you. That way, everything we say, everything we're doing right now, it's all live. So appreciate everybody hanging with us, and thanks for everything that Kenzie does and all of her work. And Kenzie, I'm gonna close out the show. Do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, that's fine. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, we're gonna close out the show. Let me find the outro in real time here. Hold on a second. This is all right. 1 second. There we go. We got the outro. Please tell me you can hear that.
I can.
Okay. All right. So that's different for whatever reason. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. In a world of bulls and bears, be the wolf.